Sound rolling.
Camera 1.
Rolling.
Camera 2. Rolling.
My name is Brian Treacy. I am currently in a stage of semi-retirement. I'm an attorney by training and profession. Where I gravitated towards was immigration law, which got me into the legal field. But then I segued some years later into law and legal reform as an international development topic. So those are my primary areas of interest. Currently a tax lawyer, but that's part of an ongoing evolution. I came to Tulane in 1984. I was already living and working in New Orleans with the Associated Catholic Charities in their Refugee Social Services division. And that work with refugees really got me interested in the study of law, specifically immigration law. And Loyola had a night program that worked better with my day job. It would have been very difficult at that time to drop all income generating activities and go into law school full time. But after a year at Loyola, I became aware of the Tulane, the Center for Latin American Studies, and opportunities they were providing to people like myself who were interested in law. And so there was the opportunity to apply for a FLAS through the Latin American Studies Center, which was a golden opportunity, which I jumped at, and found myself then at Tulane doing both law and Latin American Studies as a joint degree program between 1984 and 1986. After Tulane, I actually had 1 year in the Louisiana Supreme Court as a clerk in the criminal law division there, and that was until 1987, and I left the U.S. to work with the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, doing legal protection work, and that I did for about 5 years in Africa and in Latin America, specifically in Costa Rica and El Salvador, until we kind of settled in Guatemala for the next 10 years, working in the field of international development. But that's it took me into the 90s, I guess, huh? I was the first student that was granted the opportunity to study law in combination with Latin American studies. And it was life-changing because that center really put opportunities out for a person like myself who was interested in Latin America, who was interested in law, and I got nothing but encouragement from my professors and even from the law school itself to pursue a career outside of what might be considered the sort of conventional law school, law firm track. And that was really an important part of what the Stone Center did for me. A standout memory that I have was when, I think it was in the early 80s, 84, 85, when the then president of El Salvador, Jose Napoleon Duarte, came to speak. And it was a time of very, very, very difficult time in Central America and El Salvador especially. And that in the end, during the question and answer period, I forget what the question was, but I wrote a question basically saying, how can you come here supporting democratic change and you haven't really come into your position democratically yourself? And my question got picked. He read the question, he answered the question in a way that kind of basically said, this question is nonsense and please, disregard the question. I'll tell you really what's going on here. But that was a standout memory. And it was really the Center for Latin American Studies who brought these people in and it exposed us to the politics of Latin America and what was going on in Latin America. And those were just fabulous opportunities. One word that describes the legacy of the Stone Center, I think, is what's the term, innovation or innovativeness or permitting students to innovate. I had the opportunity to craft my own program, and I was encouraged to do so, and I was nobody ever questioned those decisions, and it was because of the innovative and the flexibility of the center to permit students like myself to explore and to really test the waters and see how I could best combine what Latin American studies was in the study of law, and that was a golden opportunity.
That was great.
Thanks.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Bravo.